I'm going to try and demonstrate how to assemble MERG kits. Here I've brought a few kits for the club, our club layout, which is Luton Model Railway Club. We're building a new 4mm scale layout, and I've purchased a few kits for which I want to demonstrate on how to build these kits. They're not too difficult, but you need to follow a few simple guidelines and do a few electrical checks onto how they're made and how they work, and for that we'll crack on and we'll take a kit and have a look. Right, the first kit we'll look at will be the canned command station, which is the DCC command station that will run the layout, and we'll crack open inside and see what we have. So, first of all, we have the set of instructions, which comprise of a command station and programmer circuit wiring diagram, which is useful to follow when constructing these models. But at the beginning we have a whole list of all the components and how many parts of the components, so we can check through those and we can make sure that we have the right number of components. Then is purely board component instructions, where to put the pieces on the board, which are quite useful and very helpful, and these instructions do actually work. They're very well written. That's the instructions. It comes with a printed circuit board, so everything's all laid out. Components, electrical components, all come on a card with what they are, the resistors, capacitors, and so on. What their values are of the components, so that's all nice and simple. You have all the chips for the board and all the chip mounting facilities. The connectors, electrical connectors for the board, and then we have another bag of electrical components, mainly being connectors again, a few larger capacitors, an alarm unit, and some insulation material. So all the parts all come already pre-laid out, quite easy to go through and understand what we have actually got. Right, a few of the tools that we need, that might be useful for doing this work, is a pair of tweezers, a pair of pliers, a pair of wire cutters, a pair of insulated tweezers, there, and obviously a soldering iron with an appropriate tip on, and a reel of solder. So these are the tools that are going to help us build this, plus a few little tiny screwdrivers, which will also help in the building of the boards and the kits. Another useful tool to help is one of these, which you place on your wrist. Just adjust again. You place that on your wrist like this, and then you connect this end to an earthing point. Then that earths your body from static electricity, so you won't risk damaging any of the chips that are in the kit. So there's another useful tool. I don't know how much they are or what they cost, but they're worth getting. Another piece of equipment which would be useful getting in is a voltmeter, and that would give us the capability of checking some of the circuit boards as we go along and progress with the build. We have to check out certain parts of the build with a meter, so that would be a useful tool. Obviously a useful thing to get. They're not very expensive, quite cheap on eBay, so worth getting. Okay, now looking at the instructions, the first instruction is fit first 11 resistors through R2 to R13, working down from the top of the component card. Note there is no R1 or R3 in this circuit. So on the card we have the first ones are R12 and R13. So we can take those resistors out because they are identical resistors, they are both the same. And on the circuit board, you need to look for where R12 and R13 are. And if you look closely here, they are here, where my finger is. You've got there R12 and R13, so that's where these first two resistors need to go. So to prepare your resistors, take off the little tags that hold them, and then we can bend the resistor there, there. So we've bent the resistor as so. Then they go into the two holes on R12. Press home, and the same again with the R13 resistor. Into those, to there and there. So there you have them in the board. Then on the back of the board, what I like to do is fold over the wires that will hold them in place. And then we can go ahead and solder those. So take our soldering iron and tin the tip. Then what you need to do, if I zoom in for you, so where we are, so we touch that point there and apply some solder, touch that point there, apply some solder, turn it around, touch, apply some solder, touch there, apply some solder. Just tidy that one up a little bit. Make sure it's a tidy joint. There. Let's get into focus. There we are, there it's focused. So then what we can now do is get our snippers. Go away. Oops, go away. So then we can just snip the wires off. And then they're the first two components in the board. Simple really. As long as you follow the instructions and pick the right components out and double check that you have the right components. I'll throw those bits away, we don't need those. That's the first part done. So what we need to do now is work through the rest of the card with these resistors here, put them in their appropriate slots, and I'll come back to you when that is done. So now we're back. All the resistors are in position, and you've got nice little soldering points at the back. Now it doesn't matter if you want to put all your resistors in before you solder, or put one in at a time and do one at a time. As probably beginning, it's probably advisable just to put one resistor in at a time, solder it and cut them off so you know where you are. But as you progress on, you can put more components in and then turn over and do all the soldering as you go along. The choice is purely up to you, but that's my advice, would probably do one at a time and trim. Now the next thing we need to go on to now is we need to fit a rectifier diode, D2. So on the card, the next one down after all the resistors have gone is a diode. Now you can tell a diode, this type of diode, as you can see, it's a black diode, but if you notice, if I get a piece of white behind it, if you notice, if this will focus, let me try getting better light. There, you can just see one end you have a grey band. Now this grey band's important because this diode has to go in the right way round on the circuit board, and how you know that is the grey band around the edge. If you look at this, might not be the right one, but it's a diode port. On there you see a little white line going through. Well, that denotes where the grey band, the end that the grey band has to go to, because it's positive and negative effective, so it needs to go in the right way round. So your grey band, in this case, on this, the grey band there would go that way round like that. Okay, so this is the next one to put in, which will go into D2. So now we have to find D2. Now there's not many on here, so it shouldn't be hard. There's D3. D3 is there. That is in actual fact D2. So it will go in this one there. So that's your D2. So we'll pop that one in there. Same as the resistors, we'll take it off, we'll bend the wires round, make sure it's the right way round, pop it in, like so. Now you can get a pair of pliers from the back and pull it home. So there's your diode in position there, and it's the right way round. So now we can go ahead and solder that one in. Try not to hold the soldering iron on the components too long, as we don't want to control the components with too much heat. I usually give them a little a little blow just to cool them down, and as before we can just nip off the wires, and there we are, diodes in. And we continue on that vein with the diodes. Now the next one is a little bit different. D3 is a glass signal diode. Now this looks very different. You see that? It's a different type of diode. What all the diode does is allows current to flow in one direction. So there again it has to be the right way round, and this one will be D3. So we look for D3 on the board, which I can't find at the moment. D3, there's D3 there. So we see D3 next to this resistor at the bottom. The same again, you've got the white line denoting which way around it needs to go, and on the glass diode it's the black ring which denotes its orientation. So we pass that one there, and I'll pass that one there, pop it down, pull that home a little bit. And then the same thing again. Quick in and out with the soldering iron. Solder. It'll cooling off and trim. There we are, I'll show you that. There is the D3 glass diode in. Right, the next are what they now call ceramic capacitors. And these are now these capacitors aren't orientated, whereas some capacitors, especially the larger capacitors, which are see a larger one like that, has to be orientated the right way, and we have props. There aren't any in this kit. You have capacitors that are big pots and they have to be orientated the right way around as well, but I don't think this kit has any of those in, so not to worry. But these capacitors aren't controlled by which way around they go in, so they can go either way. So they are the same ones. You follow them from the card numbers. You follow from the card numbers C14 because they are different ratings. They are 33 picofarads, 10 nanofarads, and then you have microfarads, so that the readings are right to the board. So follow the order and follow the numbers and look for the C markings on the board. I'll come back when they're all done. Right, if you notice on the bottom there are 2 or 3 of one type and 1 of another type of titanium capacitors. These are handed, so the positive has to go to the positive and the negative to the negative. Now the positive is the long leg. If you look carefully, you'll see there is one with a longer leg and one with a shorter leg. Well, usually the longer leg is the positive, but on the titanium resistor itself there is a little plus sign, so that has to go. So the plus side on the board, which is in this one there on the left hand side, there's a little plus sign on that resistor there. So these have to go around the right way. So now you can see we have all the remaining capacitors are on, and we have the 1, 2, 3, 4 titanium capacitors, which these 4 have to be orientated the right way round. Right, the next component to fit is a little tiny let's try and get it to focus. It's a little push button switch with 2 wires, 2 tags, should we say, for soldering on. There we are, you can see better there. So that's there, and that's the switch. There we are, that gives it a better picture. So that has to be fitted into S1, which is just here on the circuit board. So that can go either way around because it is only a switch. We put that in there like that. In there. That's it, the reset switch is in, so we can see that. See the switch just there. That's that one in. Then next we have to fit an 8 megahertz silver crystal, which is this. Now then, that is a silver crystal. That can go in either way round. That doesn't matter which way round that goes. And that has to go into X1. So now we need to find X1. X1 is next to the switch, just there. So that goes there, like that. You can see that there. Snip the legs off. So we now have the switching and the crystal. Right, now then, insert an 18-way turned pin dual inline DIL socket, IC socket, for IC4 into the PCB. It's the 18-way, IC3, IC4, which is going to be this one here. So we're going to put that in there. So we've got the 18 one. So we take the bag with the ICs in, and we take out the 18 pin one. Now if you look closely on the circuit board, I don't know if you can see with the light there. Right, let's get my pointer. Right, next, just here, you'll see there's a little dimple in the drawing. So the cutout in the end of this wants to go the right way. So it wants to go in that way round. So you have to be very careful that you excuse me, that you follow the pattern that's drawn onto the circuit board. So we pop that in, and then we need to solder all these little connectors on the back. So once that's done, I'll come back to you. Right, I'll just show you me soldering the last few. How I do it is I just touch this soldering iron on the end, go to the other side on the end, just come in on the end, on the end, come in on the end. That's as quick as that. There we are, that's on the end, and that's the piece that's now in position. So I think we'll call that it for tonight, as it's starting to get dark and the light isn't very good on the circuit boards. We'll come back to it tomorrow. Okay, thank you, bye for now.